Well, Fred Willard, we've enjoyed watching you all these years on Modern Family as Frank Dunphy, Phil's father. What was it like this season? You got to come back 3 times this season.
Well, this year they decided to get me married. And the interesting thing is I've been doing the show since the start. They never cast a wife. And then suddenly one episode, they just had my wife pass away, so they solved that problem. And then they started pairing me up with different ladies. And finally, I settled on marrying with wonderful young actress, Faith Prince, a Broadway star, and she's delightful. And we had my bachelor party and then the wedding.
All those years when they did not cast Phil's mother, Frank's wife, were you picturing a particular actress in mind that might be the wife?
I kept thinking of people like Shelley Long, who I've gotten to know over the years, Jennifer Coolidge. Other than that, I really didn't think much about it. But they came up with Faith Prince. I think they're very stage oriented, very Broadway conscious there, and they got someone like Faith Prince, who's very attractive, has a good sense of humor, can play broad comedy, and it was a good match.
This was such inspired casting years ago. I know you'd worked with Ty before on the previous series, but just the thought of you, father and son, that's just a perfect combination.
It was. It turns out I worked with him on Back to You with the same producers, Steve Levitan and Christopher Lloyd, and I really enjoyed the work that Ty did on that show. And then they decided to cast me as his father.
What makes him special? He's won 2 Emmy Awards for this role. Why is he so good?
Well, he can be very silly. He's a wonderful actor. He can play very serious. He's a great dad in that family. Is the kind of dad you'd like to have. He gets involved in all these crazy projects. And he obviously loves me as his dad. We have the same sense of humor. So, you know, I can joke with him and, you know, rather than say, "Oh, Dad, cut it out." It's, you know, he just plays right along with it.
That wedding episode I thought was just perfect. It had a nice blend of the really slapstick, but also really emotional stuff in that one as well.
Yeah, it did. And it really unwinded it out of control there during the wedding ceremony, which is a lot of fun. It turns out that they did the play wedding like I'd wanted to do. And you assume that my son had kind of talked me out of it because it's a wedding and maybe my wife wouldn't like it, but everyone jumped on board and it became a very colorful 20s wedding ceremony.
The look on your face when you see that it's not going to be a boring wedding, but it's going to be a real surprise is just so fun to see.
It is. It was more fun being there on the spot because they did it a few times, and I was fascinated with the stunt people and how they coordinated everything, and the paint shots and the guy falling off the ladder. Yeah, it was really fun.
What's your relationship with the rest of your fictional family there, the kids and Julie Bowen?
Well, Julie Bowen is just adorable. I come on the set and you'd think she'd been waiting for the last 10 episodes for me to arrive. She's just very charming. Steve Levitan and Christopher Lloyd, I've been fans of theirs since they did, Frasier and Just Shoot Me. And everyone just treats me wonderfully. And then to see the interplay between Cameron and Mitchell, you get the full effect when you're right on the set watching them do 2 or 3 different takes, how they change everything. And it always makes me laugh to sit there and watch them do what they do. It's actually funny being on the set with them, sitting back on watching on the show.
And you've probably been following Ed O'Neill for a long time as well.
Ed, yes. I first met on, what was his big show?
Married with Children.
Married with Children, yeah. And he's a terrific guy. and we compare notes about, I guess he's got a place in Hawaii where he goes to play golf. So it's the same place my wife and I go for vacation. So I always ask him, have you been back to Hawaii? Are you playing golf? And yeah, he's really a great guy.
Well, you're known all your career for great improv. Do they allow you to do any of that on this show?
The first few years, it would, do the script a couple of times and let it go wider and wider. Now it's pretty much they shoot the script and they're welcome to, you can get off the script. It's not, they're not going to come up and check each word unless you make a mistake. So they're pretty loose there. They give you a little room, give you a little chance to put things in your own words.
The bachelor party.
It's very easy when you're working with someone like Ty or Ed O'Neill. It's very easy to kind of change words around. And they'll tell you if it goes off in the wrong direction. They'll say, "Okay, let's go back to the script."
Yeah, they want at least one on the script, don't they?
Oh, yeah, that's usually the way it is. Get one or two down the way we wrote it, and then have some fun with it.
I've interviewed Ty several times over the course of the run, and he said one thing they were always fearful of is him and Eric Stonestreet in a scene by themselves together, because they both would go totally off the. So there's been very few of those over the course of the series. So I'm wondering how that has worked from their minds, pairing you and Ty up.
Well, yeah, I think when you're a regular on the show, you get a little more leeway. You can come in and go off. As the guest, you don't want to be the guy that held up production by doing what he thinks is funny. But Ty and I get along very well. Yeah, we can improvise a bit.
I want to talk about 3 or 4 other things in your. Well, let me back up to Modern Family for a second. The bachelor party episode was another one that was wild and funny. What did you think about that script when you got it?
I love that, because the joke there was that Ty was throwing me the kind of bachelor party that he assumed that I wanted. He had tickets to Neil Sedaka, and everyone else was hoping it was Neil Diamond. He got his feelings hurt when the other people went off and left him alone there in the room. And it turned out that I wasn't quite as excited about the bachelor party theme as he thought I would be. But it was a very touching episode that he wanted this to be my bachelor party. And damn it, it's his party, and he's going to make it unforgettable.
You've been nominated for this role at the Emmys before, and you had several nominations for Everybody Loves Raymond. What was your time like on Raymond?
Oh, Raymond was wonderful also. They treat you like family. I was a little concerned with my character. I played a very strict Southern, religious oriented gentleman who, we never watch television. I don't eat cupcakes. I don't drink carbonated drinks. And for a while I thought, gee, this is a bit exaggerated. And one night I was at a party with a woman from Alabama. She says, "Oh, we know people exactly like that down home." So I said, well, Phil Rosenthal hit it right on the nose. So that was a wonderful show. I got nominated several times for an award for that.
And you just won a daytime Emmy a couple of years ago for Bold and the Beautiful. What was that experience like?
Of all things, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'd always wanted to be on a soap opera because I thought that it would be so wonderful the way they work. And I found out they do. You come in and you go through scene after scene. It's almost like being in an acting course where you come on and everyone gets up and does their 2 or 3 minute scene, moves on. They don't spend 14 hours getting one show or a couple of scenes in. So you've got to really be on your toes when you get in there. The actors are really good. They're really sharp. They're all beautiful, needless to say. And you come in again as a guest. You don't want to be the guy that's saying, "Oh, can I try that? Try it again." And I found I was spending more time learning the script and rehearsing and preparing it the day before I go in than I do shooting it actually on the set. When I get in, shoot the scene, they might say, okay, let's go back and pick it up from halfway through, finish it, let's move on. I'd say, move on? Wait, I spent 8 hours going over this scene. But so far I was able to pull it off.
Were you there at the ceremony to get the trophy?
Yes, I was. It was quite a surprise. I didn't expect it, but it was great. I still have the statue, and it's nice. And people say a winner of a daytime Emmy award, and it is nice. It was a lot of fun. I don't know how well deserved it was. I mean, they're also subjective, the awards, but I was really tickled to get it. And everyone again on the show treats you so nice, and you're treated very professionally. You come in and they want you, let's do it. If you flub a line, all right, let's go back and get that. But you kind of don't want to flub a line, and you do your own character. You do what you think. There's not a lot of preparation time or planning. They expect you to come in with your character, with your lines, do the scene. Let's move on.
Well, I was so thrilled for you because I've been watching you ever since probably Fernwood was the first time I saw you. That if people haven't seen that was a fictional talk show, but you and Martin Mull just had such incredible chemistry.
Yes, we did, and I didn't realize we would. My first thought, I didn't want to do that show. I knew who Martin was. I didn't know him. And they said, well, look, would you just sit in for the rehearsals for the first week till we get someone then who'll do this? After the first rehearsal, I went up to Norman Lear. I said, I think I'd really like to be a part of this. And I had so much fun for 2 seasons. I think it was the first time they ever tried to do a really fake talk show. And our goal was to make people think it was really a cable show that's coming from Fernwood, Ohio. We tried not to go overboard and say, oh, we're being funny now. We're making fun of the Tonight Show. That wasn't our point. We wanted to do it as kind of as real as we could. And a little known fact, a lot of people didn't know, Alan Thicke was really the producer of the show and really directed. They had a director, but I would never meet the director. He'd be up in the booth doing the shots. But Alan was the on the floor, on stage director. He kept it on an even keel. He and Martin. It was also the time when they had the Gong Show, and every once in a while they bring in some guest from the Gong Show, and Martin would say, "I don't want this person from the Gong Show. People have just seen the Gong Show. We want someone who could really be an inhabitant of this small town who comes on the show, and we all know each other in this small town." It was a lot of fun. It was one of the shows we don't think anyone's going to watch it for the first 35 episodes till we took a break and we went out to promote it. And I realized how popular it was around the country.
And the two of you together were so popular, you got teamed up again on Roseanne, and they're going to have a revival of Roseanne in the near future.
I know. Ask us, I'd love to be on. I have nothing good to say about that. We loved Roseanne. She treated us very well because she loved Martin, and she was a big fan of Fernwood Tonight. So by loving Martin, she also loved me. So she never, she was very nice with us. And we did some very interesting episodes. I had a lot of fun on that show.
So have they reached out at all about the new one?
Pardon?
Have they reached out yet about the new one?
I didn't understand you.
Have they reached out yet to you and Martin about maybe being on this new one?
They have not reached out to me. I'm sitting here waiting by the mailbox or by the phone. But Roseanne, what I liked about it, she didn't like to over-rehearse. And that's just fine for me. When you're a guest on a show and you come in and do a scene and you go through it and you get by and you feel good, you're afraid being the new guy on the show that the producer or the writer is going to say, Fred, we don't like what you're doing it, or let's do it this way. Roseanne would do it once, let's move on. And her writers would say, well, Rosie, we got to do it. No, let's move on. We'll do it twice tonight. And that night we do the scene once. Let's move on. And that's a great feeling when you're a guest on a show and you do your first scene and you hear that, let's move on. That's, you got it in the can and you did a good job.
Well, I also have to, I'm such a fan of all the Christopher Guest movies, and you've been, I think, in all of them. Why do your rhythms and his rhythms work well together?
That's a good question. I don't know. He'd seen me work. I'd worked in Spinal Tap that he was in. And when he did Waiting for Guffman, he wrote it with Eugene Levy, who I kind of knew and had been in a movie that Eugene Levy had written and directed called Sodbusters. So I think they decided, let's get Fred for this part. He'd be perfect for it. I just kind of like the way Christopher works. I don't try to run away with a scene. I try to stay in, really get into the character and improvise slowly. It's not hard doing that improvisation because you're not in a noisy nightclub trying to reach out and just grab the people and say, woo. What you're trying to do is keep the story going, keep it moving in a humorous way. I've always been a fan of Christopher and Eugene Levy and everyone I've worked with. Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy from SCTV. I bulled my way into that show a couple of times. I was a big fan. Bob Balaban, I was very intimidated by. I couldn't talk to him for the first two movies, and then we became friendly. He kind of scared me his character scared me. But I like the way Christopher worked. It's not too heavy direction. You do what you do. Then if he wants to shoot a scene again, my only question is, well, do you want me to do the same jokes? And he kind of lets it go. Just do whatever you want. Realize that he shoots an awful lot of footage, and what he doesn't like won't be in the film, and what he does like will be. So you don't. It's not like Playhouse 90 Live that if you go off on a tangent, it'll ruin the show. It won't be in the movie. Although I've done a lot of scenes in those movies that I wish had been in the movies, but I think all the actors feel that way. But Christopher likes his movies to be about 85 minutes, so he wants the plot to keep moving.
Well, of all of those, Best in Show, I've got to tell you, I was so pulling that you would get an Oscar nomination that year because I thought it might have been the best performance I saw that entire year, dramatic or comedic. Is that a particular favorite of yours?
Yeah. Roger Ebert was touting me for an Academy Award, but that was early in the season. Then I was at some event in Chicago, a film festival, and he was in the audience, and I knew he was there. I said, Roger, earlier in this year, you were saying I was going to win an Academy Award for this, and since then, you haven't written, you haven't called, I haven't heard a thing. But he was a great guy. I think I sent him a box of candy or something after his good review, and he said, you can't influence a reviewer. I said, but keep the candy anyway.
Of all the things you've done, all the things we've talked about today or any others, is there a particular one that fans want to talk to you more about than others?
I think it's two things. It's Fernwood Tonight or Best in Show. They're the two that people remember. And it's surprising when I go on a film or TV set, how many people in the crew remember me from Fernwood Tonight. Of course, that was first run in 78 or 79, but then it was rerun a few years later on TV Land. So I'm assuming that a lot of the younger people saw it on TV Land a few years later. And then occasionally I get the line about let me watch that. I was in junior high school. And I said, well, we were all very young back then.
Well, this has been such a pleasure. I've been a fan of yours for so long, and I'm hoping, speaking of nominations, I'm hoping we see you on that Emmy nomination list here in a few weeks.
That would be fun. You know why? Whether you win or not, it's so much fun to go to the Emmy Awards and just wear a tuxedo, and suddenly you're on the same level of people who are really excellent, really good people, and suddenly everyone's on the same level. Hi, Meryl Streep. Meryl, remember me, Fred Willard? That's really nice. So if you don't win, it's a little bit of a letdown. But then at the last second, a lot of times I think, oh dear, what am I going to say if I win?
Yeah, we talked to Billy Bob Thornton a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, well, awards don't matter all that much. He said, except when you get nominated. You don't think about it until the night of, and you get in the room and you look around, you're like, I really would like to win this thing.
It would be fun to make that walk up to the stage and prepare something nice and humble and something funny. That would be nice. But if not, it's just keep pushing, keep plumbing.
Well, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for the time. I really enjoyed this.